5 years ago today, the Apple Watch first went on sale, following 6 months of intense hype. It had the special burden of being the first brand new product the company released since Tim Cook had taken the reins at Apple, not to mention the first new product after Steve Jobs died in 2011.
One more thing. Apple Watch is the most personal device we've ever created.
To say that expectations were high would be an understatement. But the very first impressions of the Apple Watch, including our own here at Engadget, were not the kindest.
Oh, and there's over 3,000 other apps available, though many are sluggish and buggy.
While we did call it the best smartwatch available, that was pretty faint praise given the competition. Ultimately, we called it a niche device that was a status symbol for iPhone devotees. Apple wasn't alone here with its interest in the smartwatch market. In the span of a few years, the tech industry as a whole had bet pretty hard on wearables. The independent upstart Pebble can probably be credited with jump-starting interest in smartwatches, while Fitbit was also gaining popularity for its fitness trackers. And by the time the Apple Watch arrived, Google had nearly a year head start with Android Wear, now called Wear OS. There were a variety of watches being made by some of the company's biggest hardware partners, including Motorola, Asus, and LG, among many others. The first Apple Watch was expensive and lacked some key features, kind of like every other first-generation Apple product, like the iPhone and the iPad. But perhaps a bigger problem is that the company failed to make a coherent sales pitch for the watch. Everyone remembers the introduction of the iPhone.
One device. And we are calling it iPhone.
The device Jobs pitched as a phone, an iPod, and an internet communications device rolled into one. It was clear what you'd be getting if you bought one. On the other hand, the Apple Watch lacked that clear focus. When Apple introduced the device in the fall of 2014, a sprawling presentation covered a confusing mix of features. Perhaps the strangest were the digital touch communication features that you could only send to friends who also had an Apple Watch. Apple also showed off third-party apps like Instagram and Twitter that just didn't make sense on such a tiny screen, along with a UI that offered too many ways to do the same thing. We also saw a variety of fitness and health tracking features and a whole lot more. It was a dizzying presentation that left me confused as to why exactly I'd want an Apple Watch. I bought one anyway. But starting with the Series 2 in the fall of 2016, Apple methodically started fixing the watch's initial problems and the company quickly began to dominate the market. And we're not just talking about smartwatches. By the end of 2017, analysts estimated that Apple was the #1 watchmaker in the world. Here are some of the most important changes Apple has made since the first watch launched 5 years ago. Performance. Put simply, the first Apple Watch was underpowered. Apps took way too long to launch, which meant that it was usually just faster to use your phone, which sort of defeated the purpose of the watch in the first place. But since then, Apple has vastly improved performance, a crucial change that is felt across the entire experience. A focus on fitness. With the Watch Series 2, Apple outlined a clear direction for its wearable, health and fitness. Activity and workout tracking has gotten better over the years. You can compete with friends to see who's the most active. Apple made the Series 3 watch waterproof for swimming workouts. Beyond just workouts, though, there are other general well-being features, like deep breathing exercises, heart rate tracking, an EKG sensor, and more. In combination with Apple's HealthKit SDK, it also lets people participate in health studies, like one from Johns Hopkins University to find a way to better predict seizures. More attainable luxury. Perhaps the most ridiculous thing about the first Apple Watch was the 18-karat solid gold edition watch that started at $10,000. Apple was obviously selling more affordable options. The basic aluminum model started at $350. But the audacity of a $10,000 gadget that would be obsolete within a few years was easy to mock. Apple quickly gave up on those gold models with the Series 2, and has since offered relatively affordable luxury with materials like ceramic, titanium, and stainless steel. All of these cost a premium over the basic aluminum model, but they're in the $800 to $1,300 range, instead of $10,000. Broader price points. Alongside the Series 2, Apple introduced a cheaper Series 1 watch that lowered the cost to get in on the Apple Watch experience. Since then, Apple has kept an older model on sale alongside its newer ones. The excellent Series 3 has been on sale for more than 2.5 years now. After the Series 4 launch in 2018, it has served as an excellent way to get most of the key Apple Watch features for only $200. Always on screen. People were requesting this one for years, and Apple finally delivered last year with the Series 5. The company came up with an elegant way to keep the screen on at all times, giving each watch face its own dimmed version that still keeps the style you chose and information readily visible. Battery life isn't quite as good with this feature on, but the fact that it can still get the same 18-hour battery life that Apple's promised since the first watch is impressive. All of these improvements meant that Apple has basically pushed other smartwatches to the fringe, much as the iPod did with music players and the iPad did to other tablets. It's on a runaway success like the iPhone, which still makes up the majority of Apple's profits, but the company's wearables, home, and accessories segment brings in more money than both the Mac and iPad segments. AirPods have become a big part of that equation too, but the Apple Watch has clearly rebounded from a rough start to resonate with lots of people, even if it's still not an essential tool like the iPhone.